responsible. Coming up for us here, Kanye West reveals the motive behind his reportedly Republican Party-backed run for the White House. The Forbes reporter who spoke to Kanye, along with Jason Johnson, both join us when we come back.
I like Kanye very much. No, I have nothing to do with him getting on the ballot. We'll have to see what happens. We'll see if he gets on the ballot, but I'm not involved.
Kanye West is apparently getting help from the Trump campaign in his presidential bid. NBC News has learned, quote, Republicans in at least 4 states are helping him gain ballot access. And in an interview with Forbes reporter Randall Lane, who joins us in just a moment, quote, the billionaire rap superstar indicated that he was in fact running to siphon votes from the presumptive Democratic nominee Joe Biden. With us tonight to talk about all of it and its troubling detail, Jason Johnson, veteran journalist and contributor over at the Griot and a professor at Morgan State University. Also, Randall Lane, chief content officer of Forbes Media, happens to be editor of Forbes magazine, who interviewed Kanye West again this week. Randall, I'd like to begin with you. What did he say to you about this race for president?
Well, obviously it's become a bigger deal. I think what happened once he was eligible for the ballot in Wisconsin, all of a sudden this went from kind of a sideshow to potential to be the Jill Stein of 2020. And what he said, this was a text interview. I talked to him on the phone for about 4 hours last month. I followed up by text to ask him about these reports, including the one you just mentioned. And I pointed out to him that he can't win. He said, he said he was running to win. And I said, you can't win. He said he's walking to win. And again, I point out he couldn't win. He's not going to be on the ballot to get 270 votes. There's no chance for him to win. And thus he's going to be a spoiler and siphon votes from Joe Biden. And his text was, I won't argue with you, which I took as a sign he could have denied it. But, he keeps on talking about running to win. He even texted last night, I'm running to win. He can't win, and acknowledges that he's going to hurt Biden more than Trump.
Well, Jason, my friend, this is where we come to you. I'm going to play for you a bit of Congressman Clyburn, as personally responsible as any other individual not named Joe Biden for the fact that Joe Biden is about to take the nomination of his party. We'll listen to the congressman. We'll talk to you on the other side.
African Americans, most especially, know what this campaign is all about. They've seen these kind of tactics before. We fell a victim to it when we didn't know where it was coming from and what was going on. We now know, and we're not going to make that mistake again.
Jason, here's a fact. Kanye West is battling and managing and living with mental illness, full stop. So what's this all about?
Well, Brian, look, I'm like a lot of people. I vacillate between rage at Kanye's foolishness and an immense amount of sympathy because I, like his wife and several other people, it doesn't take a psychologist to say, look, this guy looks like he's hurting. But if you step back for a second, this is an old school trick. Clyburn knows about this in particular. You go back about 10 years in South Carolina. You remember Alvin Green, the random unemployed candidate who Republicans backed in order to knock out a Democratic challenger to Jim DeMint? This is an old trick of the Republican Party. You find sort of no-name, non-politically affiliated black people, throw a lot of money behind them in order to weaken the Democratic candidate. Now, I think the difference is in Alvin Green, he ended up winning and Jim DeMint took over because Jim DeMint was a powerful guy anyway. I don't see Kanye West as being that much of a threat. I don't know who is going to brave COVID and voter suppression from the Republican Party to vote for the late registration guy, but the Republicans seem to think that at least paying attention to this will somehow distract away from people realizing that Joe Biden might be a better candidate than Donald Trump.
Well, Jason, what does this mean for Kanye West? He is head, as no one needs to remind any of us in this conversation, of something of an empire that includes but is not limited to music and clothing. He is attached to an empire even larger than that. What does this do to him and his name?
I think his brand has been damaged probably since his last two albums ago, Life of Pablo. I mean, like, if you want to see someone who's gone from a great height to like little or no respect, it's like Kanye, Michael Jackson, years before he, finally passed away. There's not a lot of people who think Kanye West is a serious candidate. A lot of people don't even necessarily think he's a serious musician anymore, even as he goes around and has these sort of religious festivals. But what I think is dangerous, and the one legitimate danger is this: if he starts to spend money, or Republicans start to spend money on his behalf. If Kanye West starts doing commercials in Michigan and Wisconsin and talking about, criminal justice issues, if Kanye West starts running around and saying, you know what, there's really no difference between Joe Biden and Donald Trump, what have you got to lose? If he becomes a voice for disenchanted, disenfranchised black voters, again, as a political scientist, I can tell you, for most black people in America, it's not a choice between Trump and Biden. It's a choice between Biden and staying home. And if Kanye can convince people to stay home because it's all a joke on a carnival, then Donald Trump has won, and he's been an effective surrogate.
Again, Randall, bears repeating, Kanye West is living with and battling and managing mental illness. As we said, full stop. What has he talked to you? What has he said to you about the subject of mental illness?
Listen, Kanye West is somebody who's very, we've talked about it in detail. He considers it a gift. And while he considers his bipolar disorder a gift, he does not consider himself somebody who's handicapped. This is somebody who you could talk about whether or not he's as high as he was in music, but he has the second best-selling sneaker in America, the Yeezy sneakers, that made him a billionaire. So here's somebody who's accustomed to going into new areas and being successful. And he attributes a lot of that to his creativity, which he attributes to his bipolar disorder. This is somebody who acknowledges it, but doesn't actually see it as a weakness and isn't willing to let other people tell him he can't do that. And so that's what I think some of the people around him are having to deal with, is somebody who's not used to having anybody tell him what to do.
We'll stay on it. We're grateful for having both of you gentlemen to talk about it with here tonight. Jason Johnson, Randall Lane, great pleasure having you. Thank you.